AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and, of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in today. Well, it is a Friday morning version of the show. We will keep it traditional. It will be a get-em-up, out-of-town version of the show. We're going to allow you to come on in and set the agenda as you see it. Now, Dr. Angelo Mitzos will be checking in with us for a Baresha report right out of the chute here about 10 after the hour. But when we take that break, at that point, you can take over, giving us a call at 412-825-6262, and just get it off your chest. If you got a question, you want to make a comment, number of great shows this week. We'll be talking a little bit about each of them. Something maybe you heard, maybe something that you didn't hear. The number, once again, 412-825-6262. Speaking of shows, on the Monday show, by the way, very important show, too. That was the new launching of LDA through, I believe, the new guru, the new head guy, Dr. Ty Vincent. Now, I'm told, and I'm going to check it right after my show today, that program on the website, many of you have gone to it, and they say it's really distorted. So I'm going to ask Bill to email me a copy of the show and maybe put it up and take down the one that's already there. Hang in there with me, folks. I know the importance of that show. It's going to be sequenced with other additional shows coming up in January and February, and we want to make sure as we put the trilogy, I say trilogy together, that each one is crystal clear. So I understand there's some problems with it. I will check that out and get right with you. It's frustrating a lot of you, and once I heard that, I just haven't had a chance to jump on the website just up till now. Promised to do it this morning. Then the Wednesday show. Hey, what a great show that was. I never really did a show with so many call-in guests as we had on Wednesday. Of course, what Wednesday's show was all about was the testimonial show. We had TLS program. It's Transition Lifestyle Systems program, which we began back on September 27th. It met every Saturday morning at Dr. Tyson Swaggert's office, South Point Chiropractic, right at the South Point exit of I-79. These folks went in with various expectations and goal setting, and the ones we heard from on Friday were chomping at the bit to let you know, as the listener, how that all worked for them. Hopefully, maybe it's giving you encouragement to know that there's a way for you to deal with your issues, whether it's a weight loss issue. Some of the people in that program, by the way, as you noticed, weren't in there for weight at all. They were in there for just the learning initiatives that they wanted to create for themselves, as well as carbohydrate control. And many patients that I sent to take that training program were for that very reason. Their hemoglobin A1C were way too high. Remember the lady who spoke with us dropped 100 points on her blood sugar in the 10 weeks. Anyway, that show is a go-to show if you weren't interested in, if you missed it, and maybe get the courage up to join our next launch of TLS program number 2, which will be January 10th. So plenty of time for you to make that decision. I know December, we don't want to be talking about weight loss issues and things like that in this month, but New Year's resolutions are just around the corner. This may work very well into the scheme of things for your 2015 TLS program. A great show, a lot of testimonials on Wednesday. It's on the website. Now, up-and-coming shows, on Monday, she'll be back. And I'm talking about Shannon Goosen, the subject of FSM. Just wrote an article that will appear in that publication that comes out a few times a year called Lifestyle Medicine, Journal of Lifestyle Medicine. I've written an article in each of the issues so far. I've just completed the article on microcurrent. I call it a paradigm shift, folks. It certainly is a paradigm shift. It's the way medicine's going to be going because it just nothing else has come along to be able to do what microcurrent, we call it FSM, frequency-specific microcurrent. Anyway, I think I've explained it really well in the new order. You want to get a copy of that when it gets released. I'll let you know. It's not out yet. It's just going to the presses. But as soon as it's out and available, I'll let you know all about it. Shannon is our go-to person when it comes to FSM. She'll be our guest for Microcurrent Monday in December on Monday's show, the 15th. And on the 17th, we'll talk a bit about that this morning. Dr. Condrat called he wasn't panicked. He was just excited because the new research, the new literature out indicates that there really is a reason to avoid those injections. If you've got MACD, macular degeneration, and you've got the wet type, you are in a very precarious position because your eye doctor wants to do these injections right into the eye. We got some information on that probably makes that highly, and I mean highly, questionable and dubious. And Dr. Condrat wanted the opportunity to explain it to you all, and we will bring him aboard on our Wednesday show. He calls the show the Watergate of eye care. And the people listening to me are old enough that they remember Watergate. The Watergate of eye care just is the new moniker for the new conspiracy out there, and he believes there is a conspiracy. We'll talk about it on Wednesday the 17th. You don't want to miss it. And then looking out in the future, Christmas Eve, the 24th, is an altercation with an elf. That is our annual Christmas story, one that started way back in 2002, really appropriately placed. Very rarely do we hit Christmas Eve right as the last show. 24th is Wednesday, 25th is Christmas. It'll be very appropriate. An altercation with an elf. My Christmas story to you, coming back on the 24th. And that's the way it is as far as it's set up right now. Now, what I want to do is take a short break and get that Beresha report. You know, we got a fine line of products. We were talking, Dr. Angelo Mistos and myself. He really enjoyed the show on Wednesday. Trying to round up the same kind of testimonials. By the way, the test program was exposed to the Beresha products. We had tastings that we offered for those who were participating in the program. Many of those who are in the TLS program now use Beresha as their go-to drink because it's so nutritious and so helpful with controlling blood sugars and the like. It's just no other way of doing it this well. We'll be talking about Beresha in the Beresha Report up and coming right after this break. Be right back.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, M.D. is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Want to hear today's AM Impact on your health one more time? Or maybe you're looking for one of the many previously aired programs with Dr. Courtney. Here's what you need to do. Go to Dr. Courtney's website, DennisJCourtney.com, and click on to the Radio Archives link on the right-hand side of the page. That's at DennisJCourtney.com. another service of Dr. Courtney and of AM Impact on your health.
620 HP.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Right here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Friday morning version of the show. It's become a ritual around here that we use Friday mornings first thing out of the chute to learn what's going on with the Beresha product line for this week. And Dr. Angelo Mitzos usually is our go-to authority. He certainly will be all that today. But after hearing the Wednesday show as he did, and we talked about it, he said, you know what? I'd like to do something similar with some people having very good success with the Beresha line. And they were able to put it together. So we're going to have a couple of testimonials coming from people who've gone the Beresha way. We'll let Dr. Mitzos set it up, introduce us. Let's say good morning and introduce him first. Good morning, Dr. Mitzos, and welcome aboard today.
Hey, good morning, Dr. Courtney. It's good to be back.
Glad you're here. I agree with you when you were talking to me the other day. The Wednesday show was a great show on the TLS program. And because we expect, by the way, that people that get involved with Beresha to have some pretty fantastic results, too. It just was a natural for you to think, well, you know what? Maybe I'd like to bring some of my folks doing Beresha on the show and let them talk about how successful they think it's been for them. So if I have it right, let you set it up and tell me what do we in store with this morning?
Well, thank you, Dr. Courtney. Yeah, this is definitely a testimonial week here. We've talked about it for a while, but you definitely motivated us. And now they tell me here on radio, ladies go first.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a very nice woman, Elaine. She is a grandma, although she doesn't certainly look that old. But she has been using the products now for, I think, well over a month. And she was so committed to the Beresha products and the Beresha program that she and her husband actually traveled to the Chicago event during the weekend of their anniversary. That was
wow,
very, very impressive. But I think Elaine is on the line here.
Let's bring Elaine forward. This is Dr. Dennis Courtney. Elaine, are you out there with us?
Hello, Dr. Courtney. Hello,
Hey.
Dr. Mitzos.
Hey, Elaine. Thanks for coming aboard this morning. You know, this Beresha line, I've certainly put my full reputation behind it. And we, meaning myself and Dr. Mitzos, talk about this frequently, but you know what? We haven't heard from folks like you, so why don't you just take the microphone and tell us about the Beresha line of go-to drinks and the sweetener, and how it's affected you in your own words. Go right ahead. It's your show for right now. Go.
Thank you very much. Well, let me just first off say I was not a coffee drinker at all. I just didn't like the taste of it. Tried really hard growing up, going to college, to use coffee to help me stay awake, to study and everything. But I always did drink hot tea and iced tea. So I just started drinking the iced tea and the lemonade, and I really like the taste of it. And I am a school teacher, so right after lunch, about 1 o'clock, I usually get that lull where I'm just like ready to fall asleep at my seat. Once the kids coming up to me asking me what's going on, Mrs. Goldie, but I started drinking it, and it just started having an effect on me not having that sluggish time period in the middle of the afternoon. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty good drink, you know. So I just started using it, and I've been using it. I love it. I don't overdo the iced tea because you're only supposed to have so many, but I have seen it make a change in how I feel during the day. And one day I actually went to make my cup of hot tea to bring with me to school, fixed it all up, and got to school, and I started to drink it and took the first sip, and I'm like, this is not my tea. I didn't realize that the coffee K-Cup, the K-Cup with the Beresha coffee was already in the Keurig, and Well and behold, I had my first cup of coffee, and it was Barisha coffee, and I actually liked it.
Enjoy.
So I've been drinking some of the coffee, too, along with the iced tea. And one other thing that I've noticed is that my husband, he's been doing it, and he also did the TLS program, but I've noticed he had to put he's been having to put extra holes in his belts when the belts that he wears to go to work and everything. And so it is making a difference in our family. So I've always been a little leery about selling things on my own and using things, but I really enjoy the program.
Well, by the way, when he puts extra holes in, you mean he's lost weight to the point where the belt that he wore before was so loose on him, he had to poke some other holes in that thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. He's going in the good direction, not the bad direction.
Over what time frame?
We haven't done anything else besides. I mean, it's not like we've joined a gym and we're exercising extra. We obviously are watching, things that we eat, but, for the most part, it's really just been the Barisha products that we've been using.
Well, we said that the scientists told us that these products are thermogenic, so that it matches up that you can burn fat just by drinking the products alone. And your husband, who did pretty much, he was involved with the TLS program, so he was learning from Patty Szymanski how to control himself, and then he had this go-to drink, and it looks like the combination of those two was exceptionally beneficial for him. You mentioned that you don't have that sluggish feeling that you used to get in the afternoon, and I'm trying to match that up with the claim that Barisha makes about this blunting the cephalic response. It's a fancy way of saying there's no hormone release, no hormone gushes with the Barisha products as there are with anything else that might be sweet and enjoyable. You get a gush of insulin and other hormones that really are not good, and it will lead to making you feel really sluggish and sort of have given that crashed feeling in the afternoon. You don't get that anymore, evidently, huh?
No, I do not. No, I don't. And it's really been beneficial because, halfway through the day when you're a school teacher, you just, you don't have the time to sit down and put your feet up or close your eyes for even 2 minutes, let alone 5 or 10 minutes. So it's really helped. It really has helped. I'm finding myself not sitting down as much and just doing paperwork. I'm finding myself wanting to get up and move around the classroom and do more activities with my students.
That's just wonderful. I'm so happy to hear it. Do you have another member of your family that also wants to speak to us? Is that right?
Yes, I do. Our daughter, Emma, she actually was living in Vermont for a while and has just moved back home, and she started using the products also just because she's a coffee drinker, and she can drink coffee all day long. She's one of those coffee drinkers that just keeps heating it up, and but she has started using them and has had some success also with the Barisha coffee.
Is she out there and want to speak to us, or you're just relaying that message to us?
She does want to speak to you. She was going to call in. I don't know that she did yet or not, or got through.
Okay, so she's going to be calling us in. We'll wait to get her actually on the line. She may very well be there. I really want to thank you for coming aboard this morning and sharing with us your story. It looks like, to me, the most amazing part of all this, a person who avoided coffee her entire life finally becomes a coffee drinker because by accident, literally by accident, you get a cup of coffee instead of a cup of tea, and you liked it so much that you're completely enchanted with the Barisha coffee, which is one of a kind, no doubt about it.
Right.
That says a mouthful. And then the husband with putting notches, new holes in the belt. Barisha has served you very well. I'm so happy to hear that it's worked well for you and your family, and I want to thank you for coming aboard and telling us all about it.
Thank you, Doctor. And it really has been a family affair kind of thing. And when I did go to the convention in Chicago, I felt like it was a new family I was joining. So
great. You made a supreme on your anniversary weekend. I
highly of the products.
That was a major commitment. Thank you for coming aboard. Thanks for spending some time with us today. And I look forward to speaking to you in the near future. I'll do
Thanks,
so.
Dr. Courtney.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
All right.
Angelo, not bad so far, huh?
We're doing good.
We're doing good?
Yes.
And over what time frame? You know how long the young lady's been involved with the program? How long has she been doing Beresha?
You know, Dr. Courtney, I think it's just been a little over a month.
One month. That kind of a testimonial over 1 month. All right, listeners. I don't know what you're thinking about it. Sounds pretty crazy to me. Let's see who else might be out there next up. Hello, is that Emma on the line? Oh, okay. Hasn't called in just yet. What about Keith? I know Keith wanted to come aboard. Is he on the line? Wait a minute. I heard a chirp going on back there. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is that you, Keith?
Yes, this is Keith.
All right. I should let our listeners know that this is a big week for you, Keith, because you were on our show on Wednesday speaking with great enthusiasm about the TLS program that you participated in. Now, here we are on Friday, and you're revealing another aspect of you, that you are a person who utilizes the Beresha line. You're involved in the business side of this, too. So why don't you share with us what you'd like to say to my listeners about Beresha, the products, and how they've helped you?
Sure. Yeah. Me and myself, I've always been a bit of a coffee snob. I like really good coffee. Not usually a fan of, your average coffee you get out of the can. It kind of gets that stale taste after a period of time, and et cetera. And I usually seek out really good coffee.
Whoa, are you there? Oh, goodness.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know we lost you there for a moment.
Okay. Anyway, when I first tried the Beresha coffee, boy, I was just amazed at the flavor, the smoothness, how good the coffee really is. I tried it and I loved it. On your recommendation, I came to a tasting and then just was amazed at how good the products tasted, and was interested in seeing the effects. I was amazed at how smooth the coffee is.
Well, I mean, the taste is a real grabber. That's an organic coffee that has the thermogenicity and the low glycemic and the blend, all the good stuff. That's their premier product, their signature product. So the taste is what grabbed you. Now, since you've been doing Beresha, what things has anything happened to you physically, body mass-wise, anything that you want to comment on and where you think Beresha was considerable and helpful?
Absolutely. One of the things over the past couple of weeks or months of this program and adding the Beresha into the program, one of the things that I noticed in addition to losing some weight and feeling better is that more than the weight is that I was starting to lose bulk, mid-belly, where all my weight, my excess weight centers in my stomach area, and I started losing inches. And as my wife just mentioned, I had to put actually 2 additional notches in my belt, not to let the belt out as we usually do at my age, but because I needed to tighten it up so my pants would stay up, which was the other side effect, which is that having trouble keeping my pants up.
Okay, you solved that problem with a couple extra holes in the belt, huh?
Some pants that I haven't worn in several years.
Now, in your case, for sure, you were involved with the TLS program and at the same time get introduced for Beresha. So I'd have to say, more than likely, the combination worked extremely well for you, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. I'm drinking my Beresha now. And I think I mentioned on Wednesday just the empowerment of the information about nutrition that Patty shared with everybody, and applying that knowledge to every day. And I just same as what Elaine said, that afternoon slump where you're looking for some kind of boost at 1, 2 o'clock, that after lunch let down. I have my Beresha coffee in the morning, and I drink one of the teas right after lunch. And I'll tell you what, I have not had an energy problem through the afternoon since I've been sticking to that pattern.
Right. Yeah, you get using other diet drinks, sweet drinks, you get the feeling of elation with the drinking of the drink, although it's 0 carbs, 0 calories, but you crash because those hormones get secreted at a pretty high level due to a cephalic response. So we blunt that with Beresha products. That makes them very unique, one of a kind. I never even heard the issue of cephalic ever mentioned by any other company. And, of course, you know why. They know doggone well that what their product does, but they're not. What, are they going to mention it? Now, by the way, we get a heck of a boost with your hormones? No, I'm not going to say a word. But Beresha has said a word. The scientists did confirm it. And that's why you, as well as the previous caller, have done so well with that mid-afternoon slump that you got so used to. Doesn't occur anymore. I'm getting the message. Right, Keith?
Absolutely. Yeah, it does not. I was sharing with a colleague yesterday afternoon that we were doing a teaching project together, and I was actually just telling her how good I felt at that moment and how my energy level was just, and it wasn't like that caffeine jittery, bouncing off the walls energy. It was just a nice, good energy. I felt awake. I felt alive. And she left with some tea to try herself. So,
pass it on.
So hopefully we'll get some good results from that today as well.
All right, Keith. Thank you so much. A double dip for you this week, Keith. But you know the combination of those two have really got you established on a successful pattern for just feeling better, weight loss issues. I'm just pleased for you as well as the previous caller. And I look forward to seeing you soon to talk more about Beresha and TLS. TLS program coming up, ladies and gentlemen, in the 10th of January. And I know, Keith, that you recommended it highly on Wednesday. Combine the two, I say, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you're learning. The TLS program with the Beresha. You'll be very happy in the new year. Thank you, Keith. Okay, here you have it. Keith is back again. Now we got one other caller coming in right now. Let's say good morning and welcome aboard. Is this Emma?
This is Emma. Good
Emma,
morning.
You're back in town from Vermont. I don't know why, but I'm so happy that you are here. And your mom was saying that you want to have an opportunity to share with our listeners how the Beresha line has really helped you. So why don't you take it away for a moment and bring us up to speed with your personal improvements with taking the Beresha line.
Okay, well, first off, I really like the coffee. Like she said, I drink a ton of coffee. I can drink it all day, and as such, my body really needed that coffee. And what I found after a couple of weeks on Beresha was that I didn't need those 3, 4, maybe even 5th cup of coffee. That I only really needed 1 cup to have a good amount of energy throughout the day. I kept drinking more coffee because I like it, but I didn't need it. My body physically didn't need that, I got to have another cup of coffee. I can't do it. And I really like that. And I actually really like the taste of the coffee now. At first I wasn't really sure about it, but it grew on me. And, now I really like the taste as well, and I'm drinking it right now, obviously.
Isn't it odd? Your mom, who never drank coffee, now drinks it, and you, who drank it in tons, have literally curtailed your use of it because you feel that you don't need all that much coffee anymore. It's led both of you in different directions, but both pleasant in discovering Beresha. I just had to mention 2 different diametrically opposed responses, but the overall harmony of I really like it, I think is the message that we want our listeners to know about. What else? Anything more about the Beresha line you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, there's 2 other things. One, when I first moved back home from Vermont, I started eating a lot because my mom's a good cook, and I put some weight on, and within a really short amount of time too. Between one doctor appointment and 3 weeks later another doctor appointment, I had gained 8, almost 9, maybe even 10 pounds, and I started drinking the coffee in that time frame as well, and probably about 2, I don't really know the time frame because I have mommy brain and I haven't finished my cup of coffee, but maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I had realized that I had put the weight back on, it was already starting to come off, and I've lost about 6 or 8 pounds. It fluctuates, but I've lost about 6 or 8 pounds really just drinking the Beresha coffee and chasing my 2-year-old around the house. And so that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And another thing, I'm not really sure what the science is behind this, but I feel like the loose skin on my stomach that I have from pregnancy is starting to tighten. It's probably a nearly imperceptible difference to some people, but it's something that I really scrutinize, something that I'm really insecure about. And I really feel like not only am I losing weight in a good way, in a slow and steady and secure way, but that skin's actually tightening up for the first time since I lost the baby weight. And that, if Beresha does nothing else for me but do that, I don't know how it does it, but it's really huge. It's a really cool thing that's happening. So
wonderful thing are happening to you. Well, I'm glad you're back home. Okay, it's Vermont's loss. It's our gain. I'm glad you're back, and hopefully you'll continue to do well. And Beresha and the products out there await our listeners to maybe sample this thing just like you did, just like your mom did, to experience the same thing. Best of luck to you, Emma, in the future. Thanks for calling aboard today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. There you have it, folks. We have lovely Emma coming aboard. Now, Angelo, you out there?
I'm still here, Doc.
All right. Now, I'm sure you feel like mother hen, father of this brood, but why don't you close this thing off with some comments? Really proud as you must be with the company you first brought to me, and the two of us have pretty launched it in the western Pennsylvania area. It's catching hold, and with testimonials like this, it's going to go nowhere but up.
Absolutely, Dr. Courtney, and especially now during the holidays, we all put on a few pounds, and with these Beresha products, we don't have to worry so much because they certainly target those fat cells. I think what Emma was just talking about was, people try to starve themselves, and they experience muscle atrophy. What the Beresha products are doing, they're inducing fat burning. The products block that enzyme in the liver that releases glucose to the bloodstream. So for energy, the body is using that stored fat, targeting those fat cells. And I think that's exactly what she just described. And these products are delicious, all natural, gluten-free. And we highly recommend that they call your office. Sister Sarah will even send them out a free sample. Tomorrow night I'm going to be in your neighborhood down at Bethel Park Community Center, the Filipino American Association for Christmas party. If anybody wants a free sample, come over and talk to me, and I'll get it to them.
All right, you're on for that. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in being involved with Beresha and you just want to be able to go to it and get it done, of course, we can give you stop in the office. We can give you some samples here. You got a tasting tomorrow night in Bethel Park at the Community Center, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
At the Community Center, and that's at 7 o'clock. Did I hear that right, too?
7 p.m.
Okay, 7 p.m. And if you just want to go do it now, why don't you head to the website? You can go to Beresha. Is it Beresha.com or BereshaInternational.com? Which one?
BereshaInternational.com/Dr. Courtney.
Okay, and then /Dr. Courtney. Or when it asks you for who invited you in, just type in Dr. D.R. Courtney, Courtney. And if you're asked for a membership number because you want to sign up, here's the number you got to give them. It's 47537. Once again, 47537. Angelo, I think it was a wonderful show we did today. I think people out there listening may just be induced to taking the next step. Anyway, we'll keep on bringing you back to keep the encouragement up. So have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
Thanks, Doc.
There you go. Dr. Angelo Mitsos, our guest today, with a Beresha testimonial, impromptu as it was, induced by Patty Szymanski's group on Wednesday. It's been testimonial week around here, so happy to be able to have you, the listener, benefit from all that's great to happen for those who gave us a call. All right, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we open it up, folks, and allow you to come on and set the agenda as you see it. So the number to do so, as you should know by now, is to dial us up at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Want to hear today's AM Impact on your health one more time? Or maybe you're looking for one of the many previously aired programs with Dr. Courtney. Here's what you need to do. Go to Dr. Courtney's website, DennisJCourtney.com. Then click on to the Radio Archives link on the right-hand side of the page. That's at DennisJCourtney.com. Another service of Dr. Courtney and of AM Impact on your health.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Heard here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Friday morning get 'em out of town version of the show. We've made the transition, folks. The Beresha Report is over. It's now your time to take over if you have a mind to, and share with us questions, comments, anything on your mind of what we might have done in the past, what we've got up and coming, anything personal you want to bring to the table. The number to do that is to dial us up at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. I'll listen for the knock on the door, and I will let you in the store. Now, I want to just mention, because there are many people out there who have serious eye diseases, and as such, I've been talking about our 3-day treatment programs that we've been offering for quite some time. But I absolutely want to have a personal mention to those out there suffering from macular degeneration of the wet type. MACD, as we sometimes affectionately refer to it, I guess we shouldn't use the word affectionate. Sometimes we refer to this disease and just shorten it up and call it MACD, shortened, of course, for macular degeneration. It's the number one leading cause of decreasing vision and blindness in aging populations. It just comes with the territory, so to speak. A lifetime's worth of deficiencies and toxicities finally weigh in. Once underway, you're told by your ophthalmologist that really nothing can be done to restore your vision. And if you have the wet type, and the wet type literally means that there's bleeding going on the back of the eye, your ophthalmologist will say to you, you know what, you probably need one of those injections so that we can shut off the bleeding. And what they're using is the name of the substance is called Avastin, and what it is it's anti-VEGF. VEGF is a hormone that causes blood vessels to grow, and when injected with Avastin or anti-VEGF, it dries up the blood vessels. Now, this has been a standard practice for quite some time. I believe it's fair to say that most of the people I know that get these injections tell me that their ophthalmologists downplay them as not being a big deal at all. That, hey, just like you need another one of those, sort of like a haircut kind of thing. And they just don't put any emphasis on risk or consequences or side effects. Now, the Wednesday show for next week, there's a big blemish now, big hickey on the neck of conventional medicine. How many more times does it have to happen that the issue of the harm that can come from those injections is going to be what we have in full discussion next Wednesday. Dr. Edward Condrat, the most appropriate person to have this discussion with you, is a board-certified ophthalmologist. He is literally the creator of the 3-day Ed Condrat treatment programs, but he's upset because has he not just discovered this research paper that everybody, it appears, is trying to cover up? At least I think that's the gist of it, and that's why Ed's used the moniker that Watergate of eye care, because he sees the cover-up, just as, if you can remember, way back when, there appeared to be a little problem with a certain hotel in Washington, D.C., and you know what that led to. Well, Ed is going to spend the whole program with you. If you have any eye disease, but in particular, if you have macular degeneration, and not only do you have MACD, but you have the wet type, and I know I have spoken to at least 3 or 4 patients only within the last week telling me they're questioning, should they get the next injection because their eye doctor is insisting that they need the next injection? Here's the command now, this is the advice, put that thing on hold for now. You got to hear the statistical breakdown of the research that's been done. This is a dangerous procedure, harm to come to you in a pretty high percentage of cases. How about 20% of the time, 1 in 5, suffer consequences that are irreversible, and we want to make certain that you aren't one of those statistics. So I want to take an extra little effort here to talk about people who have MACD, who suffer from wet macular degeneration, and who are receiving or are contemplating receiving those injections. There is harm to come to you. Literature coming right out of the ophthalmological realm of medicine is making this impact. You're just not hearing about it from your local ophthalmologist. Geez, I wonder why. And it's just another blemish. If they swept this one under the rug, another blemish for a group of people that I believe economically probably wouldn't find this to be in their best interest to mention it to you. But, of course, we will. Anyway, we shall also mention next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we begin, and today's probably it can't even be done. You couldn't get involved with the December Eye program because we don't have enough time to get the records moved around. But you'll be looking to January. I'll be announcing the dates. If you have any of the retinal diseases in particular, things like the macular degeneration that I've just been talking about, or how about glaucoma, another retinal disease, or how about this one, diabetic retinopathy. These are the 3 most common retinal diseases leading to diminished vision, and I would say that in conventional hands, nothing to be done for people with these problems is probably the most tragic at all. Any vision loss, it is believed that it's lost for good, that you will be told by your ophthalmologist nothing can be done. Oh, yeah, we can stop that bleeding, but that can't get you back any vision. Turns out it actually can make your vision even worse, never to return to some level of control. So, wanted to mention that. So now to put emphasis on where we are, let's do this. I'm going to take another break. Take that break right now, allowing you to switch some gears. And after I've made such a emphasis, an emphatic point with respect to an up-and-coming program, we'll be right back. And allow, hopefully, you come on in the interim. Dial us up, 412-825-6262. Get it off your chest. The weekend's coming. You got to relieve that pressure. Be right back in just a moment.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
620 HP.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health here tonight, Friday morning. Get 'em up, out of town version of the show. You can come on in at any moment and set the agenda as you see it. To do so, as you should know by now, is to dial us up at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. And just get it off your chest. Question, comment, any form of communication is acceptable. Just make sure you get it off your chest, and you'll feel much better over the weekend. Now, should mention that LDA, in the new way that we're doing, of course, LDA had, I'm going to underline the word had, so many rules associated with it as it was set up by its originator, Dr. William Butch Schrader. And there's a book, it's about 60 pages long, of one page after another is another rule, another group of rules, and by the time you finish all 60 pages, this becomes quite a load in terms of, do you really want to participate? I have many patients who were very much interested in learning how LDA could correct their immunological difficulties, whether they were the pure allergy ones, whether inhaled or foods or chemicals, or in that new realm, which I believe was limited in the past, dealing with autoimmune diseases. To be able to get to the point of having the injections done, there was usually a prep and a follow-up that were some arduous rules that you had to follow. Now, we learned from Ty Vincent, no more rules. So if you hesitated in the past to get involved with LDA, and you did so because you said, you know what, I don't think I could go through all those, the news flash is, we have no rules now. Ty has shown us that he's never followed the rules, and his patients do just fine. So we're converting over. I welcome you all back. If you considered LDA in the past and just didn't do it because of those rules, there are no more rules. Now, we do have a knock on the door, so come on in the store. Hello, and welcome aboard. What's on your mind? Go right ahead.
Good morning, Dr. Courtney.
Hi.
Since you brought up the macular degeneration, I thought I would pass on to you that there is a nationally syndicated show called the Diane Rehm Show. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. And tell me more about it.
Okay, well, her show is on 5 days a week on National Public Radio. She comes on at 10 o'clock. It runs through to noontime, 2-hour show.
Okay,
every day. Okay, on Tuesday this week, she had the topic of macular degeneration and new treatments, and she had some people from an eye hospital in Philadelphia and somebody from Johns Hopkins, 2 ladies,
all right.
and it was a good show. And, however, there was no mention of your protocol. And so I tried to call in there, and I'll tell you, that line was so hard to get. I never did get through. But I will tell you that they did discuss vitamins. It was kind of interesting. And they have a method of an interocular injection of lutein and zeaxanthin that they get pretty good results with, and I thought I'd pass that on to you.
So they're doing injections, vitamin injections into the chambers of the eye.
That's right. They did mention vitamin C right into the chamber of the eye, too, yes.
You know what? Thanks for bringing that ahead, because I'll absolutely be asking Dr. Conrad about that. I don't think and as much as he's in favor of these nutrients, I'm pretty sure he doesn't do intraocular injections of them. I'm going to ask him about it. And my question to you is, there they were on a special show. It was on Tuesday, eye doctors talking about what to do for eye problems. Did they mention anything wrong with those injections for wet macular degeneration? Anything at all?
I was trying to see if there was any caveats, and I don't think they mentioned anything. They said in the dry, on dry macular, they were achieving a 25% reduction of macular degeneration with these interocular injections. Now, in the wet, is more difficult, but like you say, they also trying to dry up those blood vessels. But, you know, they really didn't get into any caveats at all.
Well, I would say that the word caveat is probably not the right word here, because if the research, and I believe that's what we're going to unveil, there's a pretty large research project that I might as well give just the whole thing away by saying 1 in 5 people who get injections of this Avastin or this anti-VEGF, however you want to say it, undergo retinal atrophy in the location of the injection.
Oh, boy.
20%.
Ooh. They never mentioned that.
Oh, they didn't mention that.
I think I would have caught on to that one.
Well, that's why Dr. Ed caught up with such emotion behind his words, because he said nobody's talking about this big study, and they just sort of, in their interest to talk about it financially, of course, because they get paid a lot of money for those injections, and to find out that 20% of the people who get them will have a retinal atrophied spot in the back of their eye, which you can't do anything about once you get atrophy there. That's the point that I believe is going to be made next week. And if you've got any eye disease, but in particular if you've got MAC-D and it's the wet type, put your appointment on hold for those injections, listen to the show, and then you can make your decision. I think the decision should be not to have it, but that's your call with the right information.
I will tell you, they had a mechanical answer to this that it sounded a little scary to me. They have a way of putting a tiny telescope embedded in the eye, and they actually had a gentleman by the name of Jim Hyman, who is the founder and CEO of Jiffy Lube, and he has an implant, a telescopic implant, and he was extolling the virtues of using that. But believe me, I think they must have paid him something under the table, because he wasn't. He sort of made it sound like it was the best thing since sliced bread, and I was like shivering in my boots.
Now, this is something that's implanted.
Me about it, but
my question is this something that was implanted so as to facilitate better vision for that individual, or was it something that they
He did go on to say that you need it's not for everybody. You need special training on how to use you have to adapt to using this new vision. It's a totally different way of seeing with this implant.
All right.
But he said it was helping him, but I had my doubts. But before I hang up, I'm still enthralled with this vitamin D concept, and I just wanted to tell you, I was trying to get the conversion of international units to milligrams, and it turns out that if you're taking 50,000 international units per day, as Ty Vincent I was talking to, wasn't one of your doctors taking 50,000?
That was him, Ty Vincent, 50,000 a day.
Okay, that turns out to be 1.25 milligrams of actual vitamin D, and nobody ever mentions that conversion. And I thought you might be interested, because 50,000 sounds scary, but 1.25 milligrams doesn't sound that bad.
Well, yeah, how about this one? Back in the day, and that wasn't too long ago, the only amount of vitamin D that you found contained in any vitamin was 400 units.
Yeah, which would be like a glass of milk.
Really? I mean, there's nothing in there. And
nothing, yes.
At least medicine, as the body of medicine, has shunned that now, and they're moved. I've got doctors all around me here in my area in South Hills prescribing vitamin D. 5,000 is just, it's normal to hear that. We're putting people on 10,000. The point that Ty wanted to make was at 50,000 a day, I think he said for 7 months, and taking his vitamin D level, blood level, to 500 plus, he claimed no toxic symptoms whatsoever. And the point was, as high as you can get that vitamin D level, you don't have to take 50,000 a day. But he did say take at least 10,000 a day, and that's what I put my patients on. So
yeah, that's where I'm at too, which would be that's only a fraction of a milligram.
Sure.
You know, right. So the only reason why I pointed it out, these international units sound scary, and a lot of your patients might say, "Oh, I can't be doing 10,000, a day," but that's only like maybe half a milligram. Oh, less. It's less than half a milligram, and I don't think I would be, especially like me, if you're an adult and you weigh a couple 100 pounds, it's rather diluted through the body. And since so many cells have the receptor sites for it, I think it's very underappreciated.
No, I think
you ought to be kudos to you for focusing on this very inexpensive way of preventing, I think, a lot of diseases, really.
Ty Vincent claimed that he thinks his patients do so well with LDA because they're all loaded with vitamin D. So I'm glad to see we're not Johnny-come-latelys. We've been pushing the vitamin D for a long time. I got a feeling it'll be nothing but complimentary when it comes to LDA in 2015. Thank you for your call.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There it is. Here we are in the gun lap. We're just right at the tail end. I promise to have questions for Dr. Kondrat on vitamin injections and telescopic implants. I've never heard of either before. Hey, it actually has help. Funny how that could work. 20% better, the doctor said. But it didn't say a word about the injections. Okay, folks, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to seeing you on Monday. Shannon Goosen will be back here talking about FSM. You know that means frequency-specific microcurrent. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD. AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and, of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today, folks, I think it's a landmark show. A controversy has emerged. I didn't even know there was a controversy, but I had it brought to my attention by all of our good friend, Dr. Edward Kondrat, very famous ophthalmologist from here in Pittsburgh. You all know him very well. He is the creator of the famous Ed Kondrat 3-day eye treatment program we talk so much about here. But Ed's got his dander up, and he called and said, you know what, we got to do a show on what he calls the Watergate of eye care. Now that suggests something sinister to me. I remember the Watergate years, something conspiratorially, and I'll be doggone if having a sneak peek of this particular topic last night brings me to the same conclusion, folks. You're not going to want to miss this show today, especially if you have an eye disorder, and especially if you have macular degeneration. Now, there's certain injections that are done there that we now can seriously question that's what our show is all about today. So look, if you have a question for the good doctor you want to call in to ask about, by the way, I have 2 questions that you asked of me that I'm already going to ask Dr. Kondrot. But you want to call in today by using the number 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. The Watergate of eye care will be our topic today. Speaking of eye care, we are currently in full mode with respect to the 3-day eye treatment program. Actually finishes up today. And in preparation for our January one, and after our show today, you might just want to take me up on a free eye seminar we're going to be holding here in my office on January 5th at 5:30. Now, we do these every so often anyway. I think it's going to be more critically important after today's show. I'll have all the slides that Dr. Kondrot uses in this presentation. And so if you are titillated a bit by this topic of a Watergate of eye care, and you have eye issues yourself and are considering the program in the year 2015, you want to take me up on my offer. Free seminar here in the office, 5:30 on January 5th. Call just to reserve a chair, a seat if you would, by dialing us up at 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002. Just say you'd like to be a part of that little happening here on January 5 as we turn the page and move into 2015. Now, on Friday, we'll get a quick Beresha report in, but I'm going to repeat the show of the TLS program we did with Patty Szymanski. That was on December 10th, and the reason is we're fast approaching the new start date of our next TLS program. I think the show was done so well that for those of you who might be considering some New Year's resolutions for your own health and your own body issues, whether that be weight loss or whether you just have to handle carbohydrates better, we're going to repeat that show that we did on the 10th with Patty Szymanski on Friday, and I hope you enjoy that. The next week, by the way, the 24th, we're moving fastly approaching the Christmas date here of the 25th. Next Wednesday, our Christmas Eve special show. We're going to repeat. It came up yesterday with a patient. She remembered it well. An altercation with an elf. It's our annual Christmas show. It's been that since the original occurrence back in 2002. 12 years worth of an altercation with an elf. I hope you enjoy it. I hope to give a little bit of a lead-in as I update it every year, just a bit, but the bulk of it remains the same. That's on the 24th. Speaking of repeat shows, now we're going to be doing a live show on the 26th, but for those of you who missed our show with Ty Vincent, which we did on the 8th of the month, we did not do a live show then. Remember, I had to pre-record it with Ty, who lives in Wasilla, Alaska, as well as the Kona coast of Hawaii. He was in his Hawaiian venue, but we have a lot that we're launching here in 2015. And one of those is LDA a la Dr. Ty Vincent. The baton was sort of passed to Ty by Dr. William Butch Schrader. A lot of great possibilities in store for LDA. And we're going to do a return show with Ty, sort of his second show with us in January. Now, that's going to be scheduled for January the 12th. I'm going to pre-record it on Friday afternoon the 9th, but we're going to be talking about autoimmune disease, autoantigens, and Lyme's, and the whole ball of wax. You don't want to miss that show. But for those of you who may have missed the previous one, we're going to repeat that on the 26th, the day after Christmas. And should do quite nicely. And as I say, looking into the month of January, we've got Susan Smith-Jones going to be coming with us on the 7th, which is the first Wednesday in January, and that's about the way it shapes up at this time. The microcurrent show we did with Shannon Gosen, that'll be our third show, whether we did on Monday, did make it up onto the archives, have a little trouble with the archives today. I will quickly resolve it, but Verizon is down in my area, so the show that we're doing this morning won't be recorded and immediately available, but I promise to get it up as soon as Bill gets it to me. What else? The Beresha Report, we're going to give a quick one on Friday to let you know where we stand with that and if any tastings are coming up in the area so that you can be involved with them if they're in your backyard. If you're not in your backyard, you can head to the website by going to either Beresha, B-O-R-E-S-H-A, BereshaInternational.com, or you can go to Pittsburgh Eye Protocol and head to our product section there, and either way will get you to Beresha International. When there, just follow the prompts to join it, and when asked for who let you in the store and the number that you'll need at that point, write this down, 47537. That's 47537. That's sort of my code to let you in. And once in the door, you can join up. That $49 fee will get you the Beresha products delivered to you monthly at the same price that they charge to me. We'll let it go at that. All right, let's take a short break. In the interim, our good friend, Dr. Edward Condrat, is got his dander all up. You'll see why. When the show's over, you'll just figure, doesn't surprise me. Well, it did surprise me a little bit, and we now are going to be talking about the Watergate of eye care by the guy who ought to know, Dr. Edward Condrat, our guest today. Be right back.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Want to hear today's AM Impact on your health one more time? Or maybe you're looking for one of the many previously aired programs with Dr. Courtney. Here's what you need to do. Go to Dr. Courtney's website, DennisJCourtney.com. Then click on to the Radio Archives link on the right-hand side of the page. That's at DennisJCourtney.com. Another service of Dr. Courtney and of AM Impact on your health.
620 HP.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Out here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Wednesday morning version of the show, and good friend of ours, a Pittsburgh boy, born and raised, an ophthalmologist extraordinaire, the most unusual ophthalmologist you've ever met, certainly that I've ever met too, continually comes back and brings us messages on how you can restore vision. Today, an impromptu show because a call from Ed just a week or two ago had his dander all riled up. We're going to find out why because, as it turns out, there's some pretty interesting information. If you have eye diseases, in particular if you have macular degeneration, in particular if you have wet macular degeneration, you're not going to want to miss the show today. Let's bring our good friend Dr. Edward Condrat to the microphone and say good morning, Ed, and welcome aboard.
Good morning, Dennis, and it's always great to be on your show and share information with the listeners.
Well, you know, this sharing of information on this particular show today, I think, is going to get everybody's dander up. But let's back up. About a week ago, or maybe a little longer, you gave me a call, and your dander was all riled up, and you said, we got to do a show on this one. This is absolutely bugging the heck out of me. Give us a little bit of background on how you got your dander so worked up, Dr. Kondrot.
Well, I've always been concerned regarding injections for wet macular degeneration. The number one reason, it goes against natural laws of healing. Just like you, Dr. Courtney, I like to look at the underlying problem. I like to solve the mystery of why they have leakage and bleeding instead of just giving them this caustic drug, dangerous drug. So I've always been a little concerned, but I was kind of reserved because, folks that are losing their vision, you got to do everything sometimes. Then when an article came out that stated that 20% of folks that get these injections will develop retinal atrophy, that's when I said, we got to do something. 20%, that's 1 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
Retinal atrophy is death. It's beyond death. You have dysfunctional retinal cells, then you have death, then you have atrophy. So this is serious.
Yeah.
So then, when I started to do some serious research on this, I could not believe it. Misrepresentation of data, payoffs from the drug companies, on and on and on. And so I termed it the Watergate of eye care. But I want to just do a disclaimer for people that are listening. Wet macular degeneration and degeneration is a serious problem, and I think that everyone needs to be informed of treatment options. And really, don't be bullied into injections. A lot of times eye doctors put fear in you. Unless you have these injections, you'll go blind, etc. My advice is get a second opinion. Explore your options. And I hope to share with the listeners what some of those options are. But first, I'd like to talk about, what is the problem with wet macular degeneration. Do you want me to talk about...
set the stage for this discussion before we get into this conspiratorial, and boy, it is really a conspiracy. Just give our listeners a bit of an overview on this thing called macular degeneration, the fact that there are a couple of types, and then if you have this one particular type, you are very vulnerable to having things done to you under the guise that it's to your benefit, when in fact it could really be to your detriment. Ed, with that stage being set, why don't you take it for a minute and educate our listeners on MACD?
Well, there are two types of macular degeneration, dry and wet. Dry is the more common version, and often the dry will lead to wet. Dry is just like the word describes. It's dry, atrophy, death of the retinal cells. The wet macular degeneration is when you have leakage into the retina, into the vitreous, which causes a loss of vision. So initially, it was felt that if we could give a substance which prevents these little blood vessels growing into the eye, and it was measured, there's something called vascular endothelial growth factor. Whenever there's decreased oxygen in the eye and the retina, little tiny blood vessels grow. So they thought, why not give an anti-VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, to prevent these little blood vessels into the eye? And so there was a product available. It was called Avastin, and it was approved by the FDA for the treatment of colon cancer. So eye doctors began experimenting with this drug, and lo and behold, it did reduce some of the swelling, and short term, it did have an improvement of vision. So there was a study done. It's called the CATT study, C-A-T-T, Clinical Assessment Trial for Macular Treatments, CATT. And what they did is they looked at patients over 2 years, looking at Avastin and another drug called Lucentis. And they wanted to find out what happened over 2 years. So it was a very good study, long-term effects. Now, the conclusion with this study was that if you have the injections, 95% of patients will have vision stability. If you don't have the injections and you get a placebo, 62% will have vision stability. So when you first look at that data, you think, oh, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a treatment where there's a 95% chance of vision stability. But they define vision stability or vision maintenance as plus or minus 15 letters on the eye chart. So you could lose 15 letters, which is 3 lines on the eye chart.
3 lines.
And be defined as a success.
Only in American medicine, Ed. Only in American medicine. But what a double-handed, no-good, dirty, rotten, low-down scheme to play on the public, to publish it that way, to say that 95% of you will have your vision stabilized when, in fact, you could lose 3 lines on an eye chart and still qualify for that. That is not playing kosher.
Now, also, let's look at the analysis of the study, and this is published in major ophthalmology journals. And I'm quoting from the CAT study. 1 or more serious systemic adverse events occurred in 255 patients, 21.5%.
21%. What were they at? Systemic side
serious
effects?
Systemic side effects. You want to hear what those effects are?
Yeah, what are they?
Thromboembolic events such as stroke, myocardial infarction, gastrointestinal perforation, hypertensive crisis, congestive heart failure, or neutropenic sepsis. That means loss of white blood cells with a serious infection.
Can't fight infection. This happens 20% of the time?
21.5% of this study group that had the injections over 2 years.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't even look at ocular side effects. Endophthalmitis, that's a severe infection which usually can lead to blindness. Retinal detachment, glaucoma. In fact, right now in my office, I'm treating a gentleman who had 20-some injections, and he has uncontrolled glaucoma in the eye they've been injecting. Also cataract. And the icing on the cake, which really angered me, is 20% of patients. Well, I'm exaggerating, Dennis. It's actually 18.3% of patients developed retinal atrophy. And this was led by a team of researchers out of the University of Pennsylvania, by Dr. Grunwald, who's an ophthalmologist at the University of Pennsylvania. And he stated after 2 years, they found that geographic atrophy had developed in 187 patients out of this group, or 18.3%. So my question is, why would you want a procedure that has a 21% rate of serious systemic side effects, that has all of these ocular side effects, include 20%? You know, Dennis, you and I went to medical school, and we took the Hippocratic Oath. And what is the first part of the Hippocratic Oath?
Do no harm. Do no harm.
Now, it gets even more interesting, and this is where the Watergate aspect comes in. The New York Times Magazine revealed a secret rebate program in which the Lucentis manufacturer Roche started offering physicians financial inducements, $60 per dose for prescribing large quantities of this drug. And many retinal specialists perform over 1,000 injections per year, and some perform far more. So there's a substantial side income for recommending. So the question is, are they doing what's best for you, or are they doing something based on manipulation of study data and based on financial incentives?
Very legitimate question. This thing about the payoff that the drug company will give the doctor for using their drug is nominal. But over the course of a year, if you say you do 1,000 injections, that's substantial unto itself. But as an eye doctor, Ed, could you maybe inform our listeners how lucrative is the fact that ophthalmologists can do these injections and be paid through insurances or out of pocket? How's that usually handled? And how much money are we talking about here? Because I think once the listener sees that level of money, then they really begin to make sense of all that we're saying about the conspiracy. What is it?
Well, the injections, doctors are charging anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 an injection. It's essentially a 10-second procedure that's done in the office.
10 seconds.
Now, I know patients will say, well, I don't have to pay. It comes from my insurance. My insurance pays. But somebody has to pay for that. So, now, I want to make something clear, that I'm not totally against injections. Because, as many of your listeners know, I wear two hats. I'm a board-certified ophthalmologist. I know the surgical side, but I also know the alternative side. I would much rather start with treatment that has no systemic side effects, no ocular side effects, no kickbacks from Big Pharma, and no study data manipulation. Alternative treatments which essentially strengthen the body and treat the underlying cause. Why not start with those? Now, the question is, how do these alternative treatments work? Why haven't there been any good studies? Well, there are studies. In fact, I had an article that was accepted for publication in Alternative Therapies in Health and Disease, which showed a significant improvement in vision parameters in this group of patients that have wet macular degeneration. So this is going to be published. And I think many of the listeners know that they can get these treatments done in Pittsburgh. Dr. Courtney, you're one of the few doctors who have gone through a very intensive training to do these alternative treatments that can be very successful. But I just wanted to say that if I have a patient who's receiving these alternative treatments, like microcurrent, I hope we can talk a little bit more about these treatments, and if they're still losing vision, then I would recommend, hey, you got to get these injections. But to do the injections as a first-line treatment, I think that's a big mistake, especially when you look at, my goodness, you look at the side effects, the systemic and ocular side effects, and the manipulation of data and the payoffs.
Yeah, certainly this kind of an explanation isn't coming from the doctor who's recommending this. I had a patient just the other day. She already had 4 injections. She is been told by her doctor she needs the 5th one. And I said, just hold that thought right now. Just hold up. You got to hear the show today. To be able to make a decision like that, you have to get all sides. And unfortunately, Ed, I don't believe they're getting any of this side of the discussion presented to them by their doctor. I think it would be it's just inconceivable for me to think that he's going to mention that there's systemic diseases and ocular, and we've manipulated the data as well as I get paid off. No, not going to come from.
Well, I'm hoping, Dennis, that this is going to open up the eyes to a lot of retinal doctors, that they're going to begin to look at other modalities, other treatments. And I'm not saying that all retinal doctors are unscrupulous, but if the patient, the consumer, really understands the risk that's involved, I think they're going to really look for alternative treatments first.
So the take-home message really is, Ed, with all that you've revealed today, and I think you've appropriately dubbed this the Watergate of eye care. With all that conspiratorial stuff going on, I don't see how you could avoid not coming to that conclusion. You're saying, look, you should absolutely be doing a much more conservative and holistic approach first, and if no one can get the response from that, then it's almost justifiable to run the risk of all those other things, because if this hasn't benefited you, I'm talking about the conservative approaches, then you do have to save vision in the best way you can if that's your last option, but it should be your last option and not your first. Isn't that what you're saying, Ed?
I really believe that. Now, a lot of retinal doctors will bully the patients. They'll
Yes,
say,
they
you have
will.
hemorrhage. Unless we do an injection immediately, you're going to develop scarring of the retina, which is true. You know, the injections may reduce the incidence of scarring, but 20% of patients who get these injections will have retinal atrophy in the end. So maybe short-term, it may help reduce the problem, but long-term, you are looking at a devastating complication, retinal atrophy, which is beyond death of the retinal cells. It's, you have death of tissue, then you have atrophy, which nothing is there.
It just shrivels up.
It shrivels up.
The area shrivels up. So an Ed Conrad program can't even rescue that area, I think I should emphasize. Once you get retinal atrophy, it's like that zone doesn't exist anymore. And if that's large enough, your vision loss as a result of it, I'm going to imagine, could be substantial. Couldn't it, Ed?
Well, it varies from case to case. But, I mean, you've been doing my program, and you've been treating patients using these alternative therapies, and your results are quite remarkable. And certainly, I think if you look at your results compared to the CAT study, you're probably... How many patients, Dennis, have lost 15 letters?
Oh, yeah, that thing about the 15 letters. You and I would both consider what we do, and, of course, being trained by you, I became very accustomed seeing people gain. I'm going to underline the word gain, considerable number of letters on occasion, but gaining letters, not losing any letters. To think that the definition for stability, 95% stability, is you could lose up to 3 lines, that's 15 letters, 5 a line, and still be considered to be stable. You and I consider that an abject failure. You and I wouldn't be able to face a patient if they had to lose that amount of vision. That just irritates me, and I know it got your dander up, which is one of the reasons why we said we have to do this show today.
Yeah, so I think the take-home message, which is really important, is that, if you're listening out there and you have wet macular degeneration, do your research, talk to your retinal doctor. These statistics are well published. They're real numbers based on a 2-year government study. They exist out there. And I really think you need to explore alternative treatments. And it just makes so much more sense because anytime you have a health issue, it makes sense to look for the underlying problem. Why are you developing the wet macular degeneration? And often it's because of heavy metals, decreased oxygenation, decreased circulation, cardiovascular problems. And if you correct these underlying causes, many times that alone will improve your condition. So don't look for a short-term Band-Aid, which has a high rate of complications and side effects. I think that I'm kind of, I'm angry, Dennis, and at the same time I'm excited because this is going to be opening up more opportunity for us that are doing integrative and alternative treatments to help these people, to truly help them,
Well, I just wanted to make a little final point of emphasis, and then I want you to really talk about the positive side of your program and how it is that we can accomplish what we set out to accomplish in a way of getting eye improvements. But this study is not an obscure study. It involved, like you said, 1,024 patients, followed them over 2 years. It was done at the University of Pennsylvania. This is no obscure institution. This is a major medical institution and a major study. Do you think it's even possible that if you're a retinal specialist, you haven't heard of this study? Is that possible?
Oh, no. Every retinal doctor knows of this study. But, look what happened with the announcement of the chelation study, the TAC trial. A 39% reduction in major cardiac events, people that have chelation. Did the American Academy of Cardiology embrace this study? No, they found fault with it. They said the data was poorly collected. And I think ophthalmologists are being blinded by this study. They say, yes, there's complications, but there's nothing else we can do. We have to do something. And, of course, there's a financial incentive. I would like to make $3,000 every 10 seconds by giving an injection, and to boot, get some money on the side from the pharmaceutical company.
$60 sweetener. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, I think that you had a real justification for getting your dander up. You got my dander up after reviewing how it was. You got your dander up, and I'm going to guess that if you're out there listening to us right now, you're just shaking your head, and it all, unfortunately, makes too much sense. I think that's why you end up shaking your head if you're a patient listening to us today, going, you know what, why not? I understand it. I don't even question the fact that this sinister activity could be going on.
No,
because
I did give a webinar on this subject, and I think you have a copy of all my slides of the webinar, so the listeners can call up your office. You can send them a link so they can listen to my comprehensive webinar on this subject, reviewing the data, giving all the statistics, citation of journal articles if they're interested in this. And you know what they can do? They can copy it, take it to their retinal doctor, and show it to them.
You don't mind your work being shown to your retinal doctor? This is this is getting even all the better yet. All right, here's what I want you to do, Ed. We're going to switch a gear. We've come in with the bad news and the unsettling news, but let's talk about your program, because you put something together. You've now published it. Your statistics are now going to be available for all to see and read, whereas before it might have been difficult to find unless you went to your website or mine. But let's talk about what your program consists of that allows you to gain vision, not lose it, not 15 letters of loss, but many letters of gain, sometimes lines of gain. What gets done in the Ed Conrad program that allows that good stuff to happen?
Well, most of this material is outlined in my book called The 10 Essentials to Save Your Sight, and I know you have copies of the book in your office, and when you and I give a seminar, we gladly give this book away to patients to educate them. That basically the approach starts out with the basics. I think you really need to look at your diet. We're poisoning ourselves with genetically modified food, with food that's been preserved, that has pesticides and preservatives. Well, you have to look at our diet. And if you don't have those essential building blocks in your body, you don't have the nutrients, then there's no hope for your body to repair itself. So nutrition is essential. And you'll agree with me, we find so many people that are nutritionally deficient that we have to give them intravenous vitamins.
Sure.
To get their selenium and zinc levels up. To me, that's the first step. Then we have to work on balancing the autonomic nervous system, reducing stress. Those of us that are in alternative medicine know that if you're in a stress state, you need to relax the body. The body will not heal unless it's in a relaxed state. And unfortunately, a lot of eye doctors bully patients into injections. If you don't get these injections, you're going to go blind. And if you do get them, there's a chance you can go blind. I mean, what a greater stress state you could have. So then we have wonderful therapies, and these therapies are not new. Microcurrent has been done since the 1960s, and this is a method of using a very low current, which stimulates cellular activity, improves circulation. Published studies show that low levels of microcurrent can improve cellular activity by up to 500%. So we're taking these dysfunctional cells that are dying. We're taking the hypoxic retina, a retina that has low oxygen. We're putting more oxygen in. We're stimulating the cells. And this kind of, in a way, acts as an anti-VEGF factor. Much like the Avastin that's being injected into the eye, these alternative therapies act as a safe therapeutic mode. I mean, I've been doing microcurrent now for 15 years, and really there are no complications if you do it right. There are no complications. It's much like saying exercise. Exercise is dangerous. Well, yeah, if you're out of shape and you exercise too vigorously, you may have some problems, but exercise is good for your body, and microcurrent, in a way, is kind of like exercise for your eye. Mm-hmm. Then, one of, I know your favorite treatments is ozone therapy, and you're involved with an IRB in a special study looking at ozone. And maybe you want to talk about your experience with ozone, which is a big part of the program.
Yeah, because, well, you brought to the attention of all of us that were trained that oxidative therapies of some type really do need to be part of these 3-day treatment programs that you put together. And then not even just during the 3 days, after the program's over. And I've just found, and I think you will mirror the same findings, that probably the granddaddy, the best of all the oxidative therapies, is ozone therapy. And I know you use ozone down in your practice in Florida, and we're using it here as our premier go-to way of providing oxidative therapies that will engender a nurturing back to health of these retinal diseased cells and allow for a greater improvement over the 3 days. So, yes, I am a big fan of ozone, and I know you are too.
And then, people will ask, well, what evidence is there that ozone can help my eye problem? Well, I published some data which indicates that it helps. In addition, the European studies, there are many European studies. There's a Cuban study, Dr. Silvia Mendez, who's treated thousands of patients with macular degeneration and glaucoma and has shown conclusively that these therapies can reverse. We're just not talking about stopping the progression. She has showed that these therapies can reverse macular degeneration. We have alternative doctors, leading alternative doctors like Dr. Frank Schallenberger and Dr. Robert Rowan, who have presented data showing that ozone therapies can help. How do they help? Well, very simply, they improve the oxygen uptake of these retinal cells. They help to stimulate regeneration. They have a lot of immunological responses. They take care of any infectious organisms in the body, so it has a multi-purpose treatment that can really make the difference. But these therapies have to be done over a long period of time. You're just not going to get 1 or 2 ozone treatments. But it's something that we can offer patients, that these therapies will not only improve their ocular health, but they'll improve their general health.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the one level that I think ozone is far superior than any other therapies that I know of is in this mitochondrial rescue, that really, if you can optimize the mitochondrial function of a cell, it will allow that cell to function optimally. And that's what we're doing, rescuing weakened cells, diseased cells in the back of the eye, and we're bringing them up to their optimal level of functioning. And in so doing, the vision improves, and we can detect it by the way we examine patients and determine at the beginning of day 1 where they are, and then 3 days later where they've come in just 3 days. It's amazing to see that turnaround, Ed, and I know that the article that you finally got accepted and are going to be, is it published yet? And it does give all the statistics of your successes over a 2 or 3 year time period, and I believe it's going to be a premier article.
Yeah, I hope that it stimulates the interest of a lot of other eye doctors and integrative doctors to really look at these therapies. But one comment I want to make, and I was just thinking, there's probably a lot of individuals out there who are receiving injections and maybe who are not doing well, and they're probably questioning, what should I do? Should I continue these injections? Should I stop them? And that's a tough decision to make, very tough. And I think you have 2 options. You can continue your series of injections every month for 2 years, and then the eye doctor will tell you, nothing else can be done, I'm sorry, they're not working anymore. Or you can stop the injections, begin alternative therapies and carefully monitor your vision. If you begin alternative therapies and you're noticing your vision better and your health is improving, why go back to the injections? But if you're faithfully doing these alternative treatments and your vision is getting worse, then I recommend to patients that maybe you need both. You need the injections and the alternative therapies. But fortunately, those people are in a very small percentage. I would say that they're probably less than 5% of the patients that I see. And, of course, a lot depends on how aggressive you are in embracing these alternative therapies. And we should probably talk about a really big culprit is heavy metal poisoning.
Oh, I know you feel very strongly about it. Why don't you mention heavy metal toxicity?
Well, there's no question that elevated lead, mercury, cadmium, all these products contribute to eye disease, macular degeneration, and glaucoma. You need to be tested. And most people that I see will have elevated lead and mercury, and you have to be treated. You need to undergo some type of treatment to remove these heavy metals, and the gold standard is chelation. And certainly all integrative doctors are now much more aggressive with chelation because of the national study that came up, the TAC trial, the trial to assess chelation therapy. It was unbelievable, the positive results. Of course, they did not look at eye disease. They mainly looked at cardiovascular disease. But the improvement and the decrease in major cardiac events in the group that received chelation was phenomenal. And I do think we see a correlation between cardiovascular disease and macular degeneration. It's part of the body's aging process. So if you have dry or wet macular degeneration, there's a good chance you have early cardiovascular disease. I think the two go hand in hand. So chelation has a two-pronged attack on this problem. Number one, it's improving the vascular circulation. And we know that the decrease in vascular circulation is a trigger to these new blood vessels growing in the eye. Second, chelation removes the heavy metals. There's no question that the heavy metals are a contributing factor not only to eye disease, but to cardiovascular disease and neurological problems such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So I think there's many things that we can do. And by embracing these alternative treatments, not only are you going to improve your health, but you're also going to see a dramatic improvement of your vision. And, I mean, you've been doing the program now for a couple of years, and it's dramatic. In 3 days, the majority of patients will have a significant improvement of vision because we're doing these things that are naturally helping the body to heal.
Yeah, we brought that message over and over again. Significant improvement, I mean substantial improvement, and this issue of losing vision up to 15 letters, I just can't get over that. That's what the conventional medical community has to do to allow them to stay in the ball game and try to make a case for why they should be recommending what they're recommending when, in fact, we look at that and we would be embarrassed. Well, we wouldn't be a part of something like that.
Well, it's much like the statin studies. There's something called a relative change and an absolute change. And when they talk about statins reduce the incidence of heart attacks by 50%, the way they manipulate the data is appalling. So if you take 1,000 patients, and maybe 4 will have a major heart attack, okay, without statins. Then you put all those 1,000 patients on statin, and then 2 will have a heart attack. So they say, well, we went from 4 to 2, so that's a 50% reduction.
I hear you. I know what they're doing. I know the games they're playing. Look, with about 10 minutes to go, I know you wouldn't mind taking it. People out there may want to weigh in. I know there's someone earlier called. Will you mind taking any questions from our listeners?
Oh, not at all. It would be my pleasure.
Come on, you're with Dr. Ed Conrad. He is the ophthalmologist extraordinaire. He put the famous 3-day Conrad eye program together, and he's madder than hell and not taking it anymore, and he has bounced back and given you information today you have not been able to get any other place. So give us a call, 412-825-6262 if you have a question. I think we may have a caller out there right now. Come on aboard. You're with Dr. Conrad. Go right ahead.
Hi, Dr. Courtney.
Hi.
Just had a question. I know he really recommends the microcurrent, but what can a person with the beginnings of glaucoma do as far as supplements or homeopathic? If there's anything homeopathic that can stop the progression of glaucoma?
I know Dr. Conrad is the world's only homeopathic ophthalmologist. How do you feel about homeopathy, doctor, and what should she do for glaucoma?
Well, the number one thing is that we tend to treat all eye diseases in the same manner. So I know we've been talking about macular degeneration, but it's the same approach with glaucoma. We want to evaluate you for heavy metals. There's no questions that these heavy metals are toxic to the optic nerve and can cause a progression of the glaucoma. Also, diet is very important. Some people think that there are allergies, maybe gluten sensitivity, toxins in the food that are contributing. Remember, glaucoma is more than just pressure in your eye. It's damage and degeneration of your optic nerve. Chelation is a wonderful therapy. Chelation can help improve the circulation to the optic nerve. Microcurrent, same thing. And I know Dr. Courtney does all these things in his 3-day program, which I would highly recommend that you consider. Now, in terms of homeopathy is a little bit more difficult because there just isn't one homeopathic remedy for glaucoma. We treat the person in homeopathy. And by that, I mean we look at your entire life, stresses, other diseases that you might have. We treat you. And sometimes homeopathy can be very, very dramatic in terms of, reversing the glaucoma. So typically my approach is to not only do homeopathy, but to do these other things. I think it's critical that you be evaluated for heavy metals. That would be the first thing that I would recommend. And then look at these different therapies to see what can be done to lower your intraocular pressure, improve the health of your optic nerve.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much.
No sort of supplement either, just that would help with that?
Any supplement? Well, I know you have very strong feelings about deficiencies that you find happening in most of your eye patients. What are the most common deficiencies you find, Ed?
Well, in glaucoma, one of the most common deficiencies is chromium. So you need the B-complex vitamins. We do have a glaucoma formula that I'm looking at, that I put together. But I really believe in individualization. What is one person's medicine may be another person's poison. And that may be a subject of another show, Dr. Courtney. There have been some studies out that there's a subset of patients that actually do worse on certain vitamins in terms of eye disease. And that was also revealed by the ARID study, a national study that was done. So a lot of times you need to be evaluated. We need to treat you. I mean, I do have a generic glaucoma formula that I think is very effective. But vitamin supplementation is not the answer in treating glaucoma. We have to treat you. You have to be evaluated. Do you have a thyroid problem? Do you have any hormonal deficiencies? You need to be tested, and we need to individualize the treatment for you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for your questions. Very good, Ed. We got another caller out there. They're waiting to get at you, Ed. Come on in the store. Welcome aboard. You're with Dr. Ed Kondrak. Go right ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my phone call this morning.
Sure.
I have a rather obscure, I consider obscure because I never heard of it before. I went to I was having a lot of dizziness earlier this year, and I went to see a dizziness specialist at UPMC, and they found that my eyes have taken over for my balance system instead of my inner ear. Have you ever heard of this condition before, and what can be done for it?
Well, there are different eye conditions which can cause dizziness. The most common one is called nystagmus, where the eyes start to jiggle and move, and that can cause dizziness. But you would really need to be evaluated, and, no matter what your problem is, the integrative and alternative approach isn't complex. Many of the same causative factors exist for all diseases. Decreased oxygenation, poor nutrition, heavy metal poisoning, and sometimes the most complex disease can be very easily treated by changing your diet, improving oxygenation like ozone, removing the heavy metals.
Does the microcurrent do anything to fix that?
Well, microcurrent improves circulation and also reduces inflammation and can help remove toxins. But, you know, there isn't like one shortcut. It's not like, oh, you start microcurrent, everything's going to be better. You really need to be evaluated by someone like Dr. Courtney. And you have to find out what is going on with your health. But I would probably start. Anytime I hear of a neurological problem, I always think we've got to test you for heavy metals. We've got to get rid of those heavy metals. Because if you don't do that, you could be chasing this problem, going from one specialist to another, and just simple chelation, removal of heavy metals will take care of the issue. Or maybe even changing your diet. You may have a food allergy, a gluten sensitivity. It could be something very simple.
I'll tell you what, it's a great question, and I'm just going to guess that with that diagnosis by the neurological community at UPMC, was there any specific treatment that has been recommended for you? Because I'm going to guess there wasn't.
Well, he mentioned two things. One was a vestibular physical therapy, and the second was clonazepam, which was supposed to take care of the dizziness. But of course, I didn't want to take any prescription drugs, so I have not started that at all. I have done the physical therapy, the vestibular physical therapy, but I didn't want to take the drugs.
I agree with you on the drugs. Come on in and let us evaluate you. As Dr. Condrat mentions, his programs work in so many of these problematic disorders that you have a potential, some great benefit far and above what the conventional community can offer you. Hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day.
There you go. Well, coming up on the gong, Ed, I want to ask two questions because they've been asked before. I promised I would ask them when I brought you on the show. One of my callers in the past couple of weeks had mentioned they've heard about vitamin injections given into the eye. Are you familiar with any such thing?
Well, I have been considering doing ozone injections in the eye for wet macular degeneration. I am not familiar with the vitamin injections.
All right. That answers that part. And someone else mentioned, no, it was the same person, that there is something called a telescopic implant. I'm not familiar with it. Any implant, any device implanted in the eye, such type?
Oh, yeah, that's been researched and fine-tuned for many, many years. In fact, when I was a surgeon in Pennsylvania, they were working on this this telescope, this intraocular telescope, to help people with low vision. Certainly, that would be the last resort. I really feel that there are ways that we can improve your vision with these alternative treatments, no matter how bad your eyesight is. And sometimes people with the poorest vision get the best response, and I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So I would, this individual needs to first begin some of these alternative treatments to see if they help. But any surgical intervention should be the last choice because it is surgery, and you have all the associated risks with any surgical procedure.
Well, Ed, that's certainly good advice. I want to thank you for coming aboard today, Ed. I hope you got it off your chest because it was a lot of pressure was building up there.
A lot better. But anybody who calls, I'd be happy. In fact, I've transcribed my webinars in written format. So if somebody wants a written copy, the slide, just, you can contact Nicole at the office and she can forward it to you. Or I'll forward you the written report right now.
Thank you very much for that written report. We're going to be having an eye seminar coming up on January 5th. These new slides will be presented, and I know we're working right now with Dr. Condrat to bring him personally up to Pittsburgh to address you all in the very earliest months of 2015, and I'm sure you'll want to see Ed personally when he comes to town.
Dr. Courtney, I'm going to request we have some security guards at this seminar when I come.
Yeah, you're messing with the big boys now, Ed. Thank you, Ed, for your contribution today. I look forward to talking to you very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, you be with us on Friday for our show then. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney with Dr. Edward Kondrot saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD.